This is Bill Pierce with DFW Undercover, and we are sitting here with Norman Mathew and CJ Pierce.
Hey, hey.
As everybody knows, Norman Mathew is with Murder FM and Strange as Angels.
That's right, dude.
We're going to slide that sucker in there.
Yeah. Slide it in with Dr. Bill.
Oh my God.
Let's see some artwork.
How about that?
Yeah.
You have some artwork already?
Strange, it's killer.
Alright.
We've got everything but the songs, you know. CJ still owes them to me. So,
yeah.
That's what we're here to discuss.
We all know CJ Pierce is with the famous Drowning Pool, so. And we're
the local band forever.
Oh yeah.
Dallas local band.
It don't matter if you get national, global, you're still local somewhere.
Worldwide, internationally, no.
Dude, right? Yeah. CJ is like, it's crazy for me to just be sitting next to him. And I'm not just saying that because he's like my homie, but I rewind a few years and it was like, I remember first coming to Dallas before I moved here. And it was like enamored with the Dallas scene. Like as a teenager, it was like Drowning Pool, Pimpadelic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Down Low, Clint, what? And there was all these just like bands, man, like Toadies were taking off. I went to like a record release they had. I'd like driven with my friends because we were trying to, we were touring in the back of like my friend's Bronco, our band. And they had like, God, what was that? I don't even remember.
Oh, was that? Like
it must have been like an indie release or something.
Yeah, we did like a Blockbuster show.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
showed me pictures of that a few weeks ago.
Yeah. That's legendary. And I just remember being like, dude, one day I'm gonna be like them, because you were like the closest thing that we could get to of Pantera in a sense to me. You know what I mean? Because like Pantera had been blowing up. Like Drowning Pool to me was like next in line. It was like, dude, they're like, I might be able to shake his hand or something. And you fast forward like all these years, and it's like we're texting at 2 a.m. like friends. He's calling me drunk, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he showed up once. A couple drunk calls, man. It's all right. I realized Norman didn't drink. I was like, dude, I'm playing a show with you. Then I was lit up with it. Like, dude, get beer. You're like, shots. It's like, I don't drink.
I just, right? Yeah, I learned the Ric Flair wrestling trick. Sure, man. Throw him over the shoulder. No, but it's crazy for me, and it's cool. I want to thank you, and I want to thank you because he's become such a big part of the fabric of like what we do with the Sound Foundation in more ways than I think you even really know. And working on my solo project, like being able for him to be a sounding board, and pushing him to try and like, dude, help me with this song, run with this song. What do you think of this? What do you not think of this? If I don't get an answer, I'm like, oh, cool, must mean that sucks. But
no, the answer. Right. No, it's spot on.
Right, it's great. It's funny how the things work out. But he's inspired so many of the artists here at TSF too, in such a way, because another thing that I think is great, man, and not to put you over in these silly ways, but it really means a lot to me, and I want people to know this, is that you've set a standard for like a lot of the bands, like be it local bands, be it our TSF bands. He's come in here and like helped out with camps, with recording sessions, putting together bands, even just saying hello. We did a show at Trees in January with Ryan from Atticane.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? Like, and he took the time to like do that with us, and we played a bunch of cover songs, and like Michelle from The Observer, and we just did our thing. But it was crazy because there's a side of this industry that like a lot of people, especially the young students here, like the Sound Foundation, don't see, is that you got to still be humble, man. Like no matter what the scenario is with the music business, with the model, and to take the time to do that kind of stuff makes such a huge impact. Because it's like, you know what, I met CJ, I talked to CJ, he helped me in my camp. Oh my God, we had a camp and I saw CJ eat a sandwich. It's like, wow. But you know what I mean?
Eat a sandwich every now and then.
Right? But it's crazy because you're like,
eat my sandwich with you.
Well, right? Right? You're like, he eats it so cool. Right? But to me, I think those things, he's impressed upon them just an aesthetic to like what we do, because it's like things seem obtainable, and things seem like I met CJ, I've jammed with CJ, he helped my band, he sat on the couch here with me, and like we ran to lunch. I mean, he's taking kids to lunch, it's crazy. And so I just want to say on the record, so everyone sees it, this dude is phenomenal and been a huge part of everything we do in so many ways. So thank you as a homie.
Well, and I appreciate you having me here.
Hell yeah.
That's very true too, because when I actually first met you, I noticed how humble you were. Being a global musician, being around the world, a lot of musicians get arrogant, and there should never be any arrogance because your fans got you there in the first place.
Yeah, I'm eternally grateful, man. I mean, since I can remember. I just love music. I was around a musical family. My father played bass. My grandfather played guitar at church on Sundays. I've just always been around it, and I've always wanted it. And I know so many bands. We have so many bands opening for us. Tour out of the road. We try to leave that spot open for local bands in every town to rock out with this, and especially here in Dallas with our awesome community. And you know, I finally got that. You know, I had that dream. It was taken away pretty fast. You know, got our so, but I'm forever humbled by that, and I'm eternally grateful that I have that. So to come here, especially with Norman here at this, school here, it's just another humbling experience for me. It's great to give back and to you know, give a little piece of what I've learned to the students, see them coming up, and it's exciting for me, just like it is for them, because it's stuff we take for granted. It's like, you know, AC/DC, I didn't know that's where he went. It's 3 chords, but still, when you figure out that 3rd chord, you're like, yeah.
But it's great what you do with the young generation of musicians, because you have to actually, you know, Sweet Chaos, very talented, great band. We interviewed them, awesome girls, but they're very humble, and you are teaching them right. Be humble, love your music, play your music, enjoy your music.
And you know what? They came. There's a lot of twists and turns to that when you talk about the Sound Foundation, because they recently went on a tour, and they came back, and all those promoters wanted them back. All the venues wanted them back. Like radio stations wanted to start getting behind them.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, and it does, because they played the game. They kept their heads down. They didn't, you know, worry about if there was 10 people, if there was 50 people. They went out and they hit it, man. And that's huge, because you see someone like CJ. Like, I remember we were on tour with Johnny Bull. We must have been, I don't know, like in Fresno or something, somewhere weird where that crazy lady was. Did I ever say that story?
She was running that club. Everything was a mess.
Where she got me downstairs in the basement.
Tell me what happened with all that stuff.
Well, let's talk about that. No, dude, I literally, right, she was, okay. I literally got locked in a basement with a promoter. And I mean, she was awesome. Thank you. Hope you have us back. But I remember like running out and like jumping over like your trailer or something, and like running to ours, dude, and like hiding like in my bunk, just like, oh my god, like what's happening right now? It was the weirdest experience I'd ever had. And I'm laying in the window, like literally hiding. And I go like one of the eyes out, and I'm like, is that CJ? And he's like wearing like a beanie, and he's just like pulling his gear out, because that show had gotten thrashed for some reason.
Yeah, so
it was really weird, where it was like the schedule was wrong, everything was wrong, everyone's just throwing and going with gear. It was like just one of those weird things. I'm like, is he loading his gear? I was like,
yeah, self-loading everybody's gear. We had to get the show going. He was running late, stuff was behind, so it's like we have to put on a show. The fans don't know the difference at all what goes on behind the scenes. And, you know, stuff just got delayed, stuff wasn't going the right way. It's like, look, let's just get the gear in, let's get the show happening. Just put everybody's gear in, let's get everything on stage. Let's do this.
Yeah, and to see that's what I mean by that aesthetic and that standard. It's like something small like that you don't think about. Like you'll be like, I saw CJ, you know, play this TSF show, and he was tuning his own guitar, talking to it. You know what I mean? Because as 15-year-olds like I was like, you think that there's all this like, you know, magic behind it. You know, like unicorn dust being thrown around and everything. You don't realize that there's actual like work that needs to be done to get there. Yeah, so the bands that go out and grind it, and seeing examples of things like that, like that's huge, because that's why someone like Sweet Chaos is like running their game already, because they just go and they kill it, and they're like, thank you, good night, whatever, we'll come back again, you know what I mean? And it's like, and that stuff, I attribute that to, you know, the things that he's done with us, because these bands that he started like a camp, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was
that
great.
band is still hard and running and about to.
Yeah, they're still on.
Yeah, they're called Harvigs now. They were Awakening, now they're Harvigs, and they're about to record their EP. And you're like, what is that? You know what I mean? That came from like a camp of like 4 kids, and I was like, I think they would be rad together. They worked with CJ, and it turned into this thing that's just been like going longer than that. And they're, oh, where's CJ? What's up with CJ? We're so proud of CJ. Like that. And it's cool, man, because I remember when I work with these young artists, it gets me excited, and it's huge for me, because there's parts of us, as you know, that are so jaded with the business now. You know, we've received the backhand, you know, by the business. God knows how many times. I know I have. You know what I mean?
Game slap.
Yeah. Not even a fun one. Like
the music industry has completely changed. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's all about this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because it's gotten so corporate. It's all about money. It's not taking care of the bands anymore.
It isn't. You know what I mean? It's
but
the money that is left.
But you musicians are the ones still doing the work. Yeah. You're still selling the albums. they're still gonna make money. Well, why the hell did it?
It's all
Where
streaming
did
now,
it
really.
become unfair? I mean, I've heard bands. We've talked to bands that say that, you know, some, not all record labels, but some record labels abuse them for what they do.
Well,
We don't have to use any of this, so if this has to be edited out, it's okay.
Oh man, I've been on
Just
3
talk-
different record labels. I'm not on one right now. We're independent. Which is
Oh,
great.
you are independent?
So I'm trying to stay that way, have our own thing. It's a fight because my guy's old school too, so it's like, and also we've come kind of further along, so we can still get the kind of deal you have to fight for that you want, or enough of a deal to make it semi-decent compared to how it used to be. But we've been running on our own the last 2 years, and it's been great. So like, why would we ever do that? Just get distribution. But there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as they say. Like, you can still get something. I think for a starter band or somebody coming out at the gate, it still makes sense to have that record company right out, you know. But just realize, you know, they own all your music, and your job is to go out and perform anyway and play the shows. Just don't let them take any of that from you. Like, those ticket sales are yours, that merch is yours. Don't ever make a merch deal. Go buy your own shirts, make them yourself, or find somebody to do it independent. That's another spot that they kind of screw you. There's 360 deals. I don't know if they still do those deals or not, but
They do.
it seems like which each passing year, more and more bands that I know that get signed get less and less and less. And we already got way less back in 2000, 2001. I mean, I got the biggest, you know, I sold a million records, but yeah, I sold $1 million. I guess the fish keeps getting bigger. Like, how did that happen? Like, how do I sell a million records and owe $1 million? Which is the truth. Like, show you paperwork.
Right.
And it's just like mind blowing and things like that. So it's not that I get anything off to let the boss get the floor, but I get to play shows every night, and I get to play, you know, like 100 people or 1,000 people, or 1,000 people, man. It's just, you know, it's always amazing. They know the song, and we're there to hang out and have a good time.
I've seen it.
I've seen it.
I've been there every night, dude.
Even though when you do play for 100,000 people, do you still get off stage and get into the fans?
You can't
or
drink
is it
on
a little
1,000
different.
You
Do what?
You can't even the, you know, the smaller shows, the club shows, but it's so extreme, man. Like, literally, it's so up and down. But I love all the shows, the small ones, big ones. I guess 80,000 really is probably, I don't know,
That's a shit ton of
50,000
people,
there
man.
in Kansas City. That's awesome.
Really?
So it's still, yeah. That
That's awesome.
Rock Fest is always like that every year. So I mean, rock and roll is still alive and kicking, man. And like, you know, even if the radios change or the businesses change, I mean, there's still a place for that, for a live show. That's what rock and roll's always been about, the live show.
You know,
like Kiss.
you know what I think that's a lot of that's missing, and don't get me on Kiss because I just stumped him earlier. But I think what's different, and CJ and I kind of, I mean, I started super young. Like, you know, I got into my first deal when I was like 19, but it was around the same time that they had signed, maybe a couple years behind them. But where, like, the business was still affluent in a way. You know what I mean? Like 2000, like a band like Deftones could afford to do Adrenaline into White Pony, but, you know, Run the Fur into White Pony, and we would take off. You know, like 311 had 3 shots at a record before they blew up. You could develop a band. And so I experienced that because my own band had signed, you know, and done a deal. I mean, we had Steve Kravac who was producing us, and we'd done like Blink-182 and MXPX as they had just blown up, you know, Dude Ranch and It's Alright, Tell Me. So he was like a hot producer, and we were like, dude, that's so cool. And it's weird, you know, being friends with CJ and working with him in these ways, because it was like we paralleled in so many ways. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie like Hedwig and the Angry Itch, but it's like this is a crazy movie. You guys gotta check it out. But the guy, they were friends, and he used to actually babysit the guy that ended up blowing up. And so everywhere they would go, like the kid that he had babysat was like this big mega star in an arena, and Hedwig was playing like the dumpy club like 3 blocks down for like 50 people. But they were doing the same thing, right? And it's because you'd come from the same time. And it's, so I see that just like as I learned analog boards at the same time that Pro Tools had come out on the production side. So I got the best of both worlds. So you're able to see it. And I think what's wrong in a lot of ways with the business too is I don't feel like enough musicians are taking any chances anymore. Because and I know that sounds like such an old man thing to say, where you're like, oh, nobody's different, it all sounds the same. But to a certain degree, it's like, dude, I saw Slipknot break out. But it was like when you saw Slipknot, you were like,
never seen anything like it.
What the hell is this? Yeah, I mean, they took a chance, dude. That could have been really terrible. Or that
Oh
could
yeah,
have
it
been
could have
really
went
huge.
either way.
There's a reason like Drowning Pool stuff like stands the test of time, because it was like, it was different, man. They may not have made it, or they were. You know, Pantera, same sort of stuff. And it's like, where are those identifiable bands now? And I'm not saying anything bad about any band, but it's for me why
There's too many cookie cutter bands, and I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's too many people trying to be the
Dude, it's
same.
no offense to anyone.
We all live A&R kind of pushing them to like, well, that worked on the radio last week, so you need to kind of do. I've heard that story from so many bands. Like,
Yeah.
Really?
You know,
Well,
I've heard that from Ryan. Before
Right.
they blow up, like, you gotta sound more like this drownable band. He tells me that story all the time. He used to tell me that story.
Yeah, well, what's crazy about that is that, you know, part of the DIY thing, I think, is another big problem with the business and how the door's been blown open in ways that, you know, other entertainment mediums still haven't, you know, is that you've got a filter that used to be in place. You used to have record labels and gatekeepers and A&R guys and producers, and whether they were the man and you hated them or not, there was someone that filtered that out and created a product that was going to be different to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, you always had like a bunch of cheesy like 80s glam bands, like Sleaze Bees mixed in with Slick Toxic, yeah, bands you didn't know, but then there was King Diamond and, you know, Megadeth and Metallica. There was Guns N' Roses. There was these big bands that were like identifiable. And it's with the DIY thing and the Wild West and the internet and everybody being able to do anything and everything, at the same time, I think that's kind of bad, because you don't have a producer putting out a good product and saying, hey man, like, dude, this, I think what you guys are doing is great, but we need to rework this so it's a little more of someone from the outside telling you what to do. For example, I have an iPhone 7 with a great camera. Doesn't mean that I'm Steven Spielberg. You know, and just because you have GarageBand or Cubase or whatever doesn't mean that you're a producer. Like, you have to be able to step outside of that. And I think that's kind of missing too, that has kind of cut that out for a lot of bands. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I feel
you know what I mean?
the same
Because
way
I've
you
seen
would.
that change, you know? It's like, I can do so much and I'm so much more empowered to a degree than I've ever been with my career. But at the same time, it's like, I remember being 15 and going to 7-Eleven on my skateboard with my friends, and it was like, whoever was on the cover of Metal Edge or Rip magazine, it was like all we had to pick from. And now it's like, there's so much I can understand as a consumer, like, and a listener. How do you even know what to find, what you like? And it goes back to, I don't think that there's any bands that are truly like breaking that mold, that you're like, holy hell, have you heard of this band? Have you seen this band? And that's why it feels like people saying, oh, rock is dead, or this and this. There's the good old standbys that you've got, and that's about it. And I'm like, there just needs to be a breakout band.
There does.
You know what I mean?
know.
And that was my point with like Murder FM and like doing my solo project, Strangest Angels. It wasn't because I wasn't happy doing that thing or I thought I could do better. It was just like, I need to take a chance as an artist. And it may be the worst thing that anybody has ever heard. It may break through, but I, as an artist, needed to try that because I didn't want to play it safe.
Have you heard any of this stuff yet?
No.
It's different.
Oh, I love it, man. It's awesome, especially knowing Norman for so many years, and you know, just knowing you from Murder FM to see the stuff you do now with Strangers Angels. It's just a wide variety. It's nice to see you push the limits. It's so many different styles. With each song, it's like, you know, it's all cohesive, but it's definitely pushing it lighter, heavier, and it's also cool that you send stuff over because there's a few songs I'm just outside here and I'm like, we trust each other.
Yeah, well,
I'm like,
you know,
dude, honestly, this is great, but that part, dude, if you know, piano there,
and that's how, there was a song called Eternal, in fact, that, I mean, was so minimal in a way that the interaction CJ and I had on it, but just the little things that he did with me on it was like, yeah, he's right. And that's that filter that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It was like, you know what, let me go back and do that. Boom, 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 boom. Dialed it in, you know, and it was like working with a couple different people, bouncing the electronic stuff off Tommy Lee, doing some of the radio rock with Chris and seasons after, and like, what do you think of this, CJ? What do you think of this? Like, because he's busy, he's flying around, he's doing shows, to have that kind of perspective with somebody that's not in it with you. Because if we sat in a room and like wrote together, you now have that skin in the game that's a little bit different. That even now you're on the inside. So I'm like, you're not my outside guy. Yeah, so I dig that it's like, what do you think of this? You know, slip them the email, check out this song, what do you think? You know, and those little things matter. And so it's helping me take those chances as an artist because it is different, dude. I mean, like I tuned my guitar to like a standard tuning and played like a D chord. I was like, oh my God, like.
What are you tuning? How low?
Right? I think we were like an X flat.
X flat? Yeah. I got a guitar set up there.
Right?
It's got like 10 strings on it.
Which, by the way, he does the best guitar setups. He really does.
Thanks, yeah, I get that one last model.
You got a career, kid.
I can be a great guitar tech. But I take my own stuff anyway.
Right.
Just because I'm so hands-on. Okay.
Yeah, but as an artist, you have to be. I mean, you're a creator. You have to break the mold. I mean, I think people nowadays are so scared that they're going to step on somebody's toes. Who gives a shit, man? You're an artist.
Well, that's how I felt. I was like, you know what, my life, and it's so hard for like, you know, people that are close to me, I guess, to understand, or that have been around, and just certain things that I've done. Like, I don't think I'm a big deal in any way, but the little circle that I have, like, why would you switch gears? Why would you want to do something else? I'm like, dude, I have to take some chances right now because my personal life was a mess, you know, and the things that I was going through were a mess. That one, I didn't feel like there was any conviction behind what I was doing at the moment with, you know, Murder FM. Like, I would have been cheating my own band members. Like, it wasn't about, I gotta go do my own thing. It was like I wanted to do something that even paralleled my situation that I was in. Something that I could, you know, sit and grab my acoustic guitar as I was writing these songs and crying, you know, like with my little boy in my lap falling asleep. It was like I'd never done that. Everything was like an act because we grew up on Kiss, and I wanted to be like Kiss, and I wanted to be like Manson, and I wanted to be like Nine Inch Nails, and that was my thing. But when my life changed, it was the first time that I realized how much music can impact a life, so much so even as an artist that I was like, God, now I understand why these guys are like, why would so-and-so, you know, why would Dave Grohl not want to play drums anymore? And you're like, because the band that he was in, one of his best friends, you know, has passed away. Exactly. Shit, dude, he doesn't want to be behind a kit. No wonder. You know what I mean? You don't realize it until you're in it. You know, it was like he wanted to get on the complete opposite side of who he was. And I'm the same way. It was like as much as you can be as a singer, which is difficult. So I was like, I got to change tunings. I got to bounce this off different people. I've got to try different things. I've got to play different guitars. I've got to try a major key.
You up there pretty high at some songs on it. What is that?
Oh, right.
Down
yeah, man. Yeah. You know, that was another thing. You know, I had a student, Caitlin Kelly, well, girl, who actually helped me with the song Waves, the harmonies on it, which you're talking about. Because she just, dude, she can harmonize in the stratosphere. And that was another thing, too. It was like, dude, I got to drop my ego. Because I've got a talent pool around me that was like, hey, what are you doing? You're a great harmonizer. Help me out with this track. So it's like these kids are teaching me the same way that like I'm teaching them, because I'm seeing excitement again. And I wasn't excited anymore. I was so burnt on the business. I was burnt on the same old. Give us a like on Facebook. Here's our Instagram shot. Don't forget to take a picture from the stage. Like, all those things are great. You don't not appreciate them. But at the same time, it's like I need to appreciate these things in a way by actually really putting every piece of myself into it. My heart, my body, my emotions. And that's something that I hadn't done before. You know, so it's crazy and it's cool. So thank you, by the way, for giving it some love. Thank you for answering my 2 a.m. emails.
Yeah, man, great lyrics. And like, while I'm up too, man, in the home studio doing stuff as well.
So what else are you doing other than Drowning Pool? What else you got going on, brother?
Well, we've been writing Drowning Pool songs for the next record. I think we're going to attack that by the end of this year. We had a little break with one singer and had somebody else come in for a little bit, like Jason, kind of same thing. He had family stuff going on. But I do a lot of stuff with my brother, That's Above, So Below. And I feel bad because I always kind of put them on the back seat because Drowning Pool's a day job. But we're so close now. All the songs are tracked, everything, but all the the vocals of it. So I'm trying to knock that out before this next tour. I got 3 weeks to like get him in there and get that done. I know, at least if I can get it in there, I can edit it once I'm out on the road and then punch stuff in. There's another band, Rear Naked Choke, RNC, that I've just finished in their mix, did a full-length record with them. It's been a whole year thing, work a little bit, take a little time off between them and myself, but we're finally down to like the final mixing the stage, that's what I have on my plate this week, finishing mixing their record. I dove into stuff. I know a lot of rock fans don't get it, and I usually don't say it, but just as a challenge to me a few years ago, because again, when I get a little bit of time, which is rare, I try to push and challenge yourself. And the EDM thing is just huge, man. And I just wanted to see what the attraction was with it, because I'm such a metal guy, and I get it, and then just like totally immerse myself in it, and do it just like they do it in a way that has nothing to do with guitars, just the whole programming thing, just see why is this thing? Yeah. So I had some fun. I did 6 songs with it just to do it, and I put it out there just for fun. And now it's like become its own thing here recently. I was like, really, just did it, for fun, just to challenge myself. So I might reattack that again since that's kind of been blowing up. But again, my heart's in metal, it's in rock and roll. And the next, a really big focus here at the end of the year is just the Drowning Pool, get another Drowning Pool record going, and hopefully get in on some more known stuff before it puts it out.
Yeah.
How close are you?
Dude, we're got 6 of them mixed now.
So I have to come in the background.
6 of the 10, right?
One of those.
Absolutely, man. No, it's been cool because I've really tried to push myself to deal with different people as well, or work with different people, and deal with that is the diva side of me. You know what I mean? So like I play guitar and I sing, so I'm only like half diva. You know what I mean? I'm not full on. So I can battle with myself. I just wrote this song with Keith from 18 Visions, who we were in a band together back in the day. And that's got another like electronic-y thing going on, which is weird because you think if you're a fan of 18 Visions, they just reunited and released a record on Rise. He was in Throwdown before, so if you know Keith Barney, you're like, oh, metal. And it's the same thing, and I'm like, no, I actually, yeah, right. And you're like, I kind of he wanted to do something different, which is why we had done a project together before called Never Enough. And when Koch became E1, our record just fell through the cracks, dude. So it was cool to like revisit that because that was a really special time in my life. Because like with CJ, it was one of those things where it was like, I'm a fan of your band, dude, and like I'm sitting across the room looking at you now, making music together. You're like surreal, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I was on stage with this fool, and I'm like being on the road with them, and I'm like, dude, I remember standing in line at Blockbuster. You know what I mean? And you're like, now we're just like homies, and it's crazy, and it's cool, and I'm very like thankful for those things. I'm glad that as hard as there was a big time in my life this past year and a half that was really, really terrible for me, and it's like, dealing with death is one thing, but to deal with what I was dealing with was like reliving a death every day and going to keep reliving that for as long as, these people are around in your life because you share a child, so it's a death of a relationship in a way. So, but that person is alive. So you're constantly reminded of these things. There was two ways I was going to go, and I'm glad that I chose the as humble as I could be out and learn from it, because I learned to appreciate a lot of little things along the way, and to appreciate the little things even more and big things even more, which is why I felt like, dude, I gotta do something rad, and I gotta do something different, and I just gotta get out of the box this time on my own, you know what I mean? So to everybody that's gonna check it out, thank you. To anyone that I've worked with, take no offense. It's a me thing, man. It really is.
You're still a musician. I mean, you're still, even though you're in a band, you're still a solo act as well.
But everyone, like the heat, they're getting for doing something positive.
Yeah.
In the military, it's the same thing. You're like, a singer goes off and does a project, and all of a sudden, the sky falls, and they're the worst person in the world, and they're like, dude,
you got to do what you got to do for you.
You know what I mean?
It's still like your life.
Yeah.
And music is life, and you love music so much.
But
you're gonna do whatever you can to be in it.
In the process of what happened, again, this past year and a half, it gave me a conscience, which I'd never had. You know what I mean? So that's difficult in a lot of ways as a singer in a band to be like, oh my God, I'm actually thinking about what I just said to you. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? You start reflecting. You're like, oh my God, all these people that I may have like treated like a total douche. I'm like, dude, I'm like making a list of like, I can't remember what movie that was, but where the guy goes back, I think, something. It like made like a list of just like everyone he had done wrong to, and it's like, I'm gonna find this person, and she's just like, that's what I feel like, you know what I mean? So a lot of that comes out in the record too, and I've never been so vulnerable in that way. So to have again someone like CJ just to listen, man, you're like, when you're throwing it out there and you're that lyrically and musically vulnerable, and you're like, oh my God, like I feel scared for like the first time ever. Which I never even was, even when my bands were terrible when I was 16. I was like, oh, we're the best band in the world. Because I had that ego that I just don't have anymore. Like, I'm like scared. I remember when I went on stage with him and the Trees in January, I wanted to play. It was fun as hell. But dude, that's the first time I'd been on stage in like 9 or 10 months in that capacity. And it was the first time that like, I was like, I just want to play bass. And he's like, why are you going to play bass? Like, I didn't want to tell anybody at the time, but it was like, because I'm scared. Like, I haven't been on stage. Like, I've performed with the kids and done things, but to be in a spotlight of like, check out what we're doing, I was like, I don't know, man, I just kind of want to play bass. And like, dude, I literally, like, he's like, you got to get on your rock gear. I remember this conversation in the green room, and I'm like, no, dude. And I like had like a cardigan, like this long cardigan, and like put the hoodie on, and I was just like, no one look at me. And it was the weirdest thing ever, because it was like I had never felt that way. I'd forgotten what it was like to be scared. I'd forgotten what it was like to appreciate. I'd forgotten, like, there's so much skin just like shed, that I think maybe by the time we got to covering bodies, I was finally like, dude, stop being a wuss. And just took off the card, and I was like, and Michelle looks at me like on drums, and I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm gonna do it, dude. But it was so, you know what I mean? Like I took my first step forward on stage, and it was like, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, dude, but it was. I had not. So you know, doing.
I realized I'd been on for you.
Yeah, man, and doing that, you know, what was big for me. And so again, it was like, dude, CJ brought that out of me, like without even realizing that. Because if I had not done that for the school and what we were trying to do and raise money for, and if I had not done that because my homie was on stage with me, I probably would have backed out and like ran away. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. And Michelle's the drummer for the project, by the way. So it was that kind of culmination of things, the perfect storm of like, all right, maybe I'll start. But even that's in January, and we're in what, July now?
Yeah.
And I'm still poking it because I'm just so like,
No, do something like that again, man.
Yeah, that was badass.
Ryan was great too.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, man, being in Drowning Pool, of course you've been in Drowning Pool how long?
Since day one. Mike
Right.
and I got together in '96. Mike and I were friends in New Orleans and jammed together for a while. And in the last year or two of high school, Mike moved here to Dallas, and then him and Stevie jammed. And I came back after high school, and him and I started a band. And we just couldn't find a bass player and a singer, and Stevie was trying to find, you know, drummer, guitar player type thing. And it's just, you know, that's kind of how it came together. Like you said, the scene was just happening here in the '90s with Pantera and all those other bands you mentioned. So we let's move to Dallas, because you know, New Orleans scene was more jazz and blues, and there was death metal happening at the time, but
Really?
it wasn't full on death metal band. Like,
Is it creepy?
It's creepy.
I'm just curious. Being in
I played in
Louisiana.
a death metal band.
But you know what I mean? It's like, dude, I love New Orleans.
I grew up there, so it's kind of like normal to me, man. But,
Yeah, Matt loves New Orleans.
yeah, a lot of history, a lot of cool stuff there. I go there every year for Mardi Gras, hang out with the family, and see all that stuff. And it's just it's one of those cities that has its own thing, especially people who were born there, growing up there, kind of like LA, like these people that are born and bred in LA, and then people that go there, and it's two different cultures.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you though, what is the strangest shit you ever seen on tour, man? I know you've seen it all, but I want to hear the strangest story.
Stuff, man. I've seen a couple of different. Strangest.
Maybe with a fan or something.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
Okay.
I don't remember where this was at exactly, but this kid was like, he had a cigarette, and it was like, I love you, man. And he's burning himself, but I love you guys so much. I'm like, dude, just stop burning yourself. I get it. Like, it was just like, I love you so much. Just stop. Like, trying to show me how much you love me for burning himself. I thought that was kind of strange. So we did get somebody's ashes.
Oh, wow.
Guy's name was Colorado. He passed away like a few days before he played at Ozfest 1 year. So they gave us his ashes. They wanted us to sprinkle over the crowd while we're playing the show. I was like, I don't know if this is right, legal. I can just do that. Wow. So because it's Ozzy and the tour, we we're doing an interview, and we jokingly poured out some of his ashes, but it wasn't. It was like a pixie stick or something. And I just played up and snorted Colorado's ashes and got like crap for that too. Like, it was a fake thing. It was just for tongue-in-cheek rock and roll. So that was a little strange.
Rock has changed a lot, man, because I grew up in the 80s, man, and every picture I ever seen of Motley Crue, they're all drinking, they have naked, half-naked girls around. It's not like that anymore. You kind of have to walk softly now.
I've done an interview earlier today.
Anymore.
Yeah, right?
I mean, if you're a metal band, like rock and roll, and the campus is over, yeah, but they say, oh, dude, I can't afford a camera. It's like, I get it, I've done it.